Hello YouTube, this is Ben Yessel. It's another hot summer night here in Kenmore, Washington. I was just kind of going through some of my music playlists, or more accurately I should say, music that other people have put up on YouTube that I've put on my playlist, as you know. But still, I mentioned this earlier, I really think you guys should check out a lot of this stuff. There's a wide variety of music on my playlist, of course. And so, I mean, this is, it actually, a lot of it, I don't know. One of the reasons I'm mentioning this is because I think in this video I'm going to mention about why I went into music and what I like in music and other things, and maybe just why I made it a career out of it. Why didn't I become a CEO of a company or whatever, or a lawyer or something. So, well, I mean, there's a lot of things we can do in life. It's not just one thing, of course, but so I apologize if this video is a bit longer than any of my other ones. It might take some explanation, but this is the perfect night to do it because it's very hot, and I just need to cool down somehow. It's barely tolerable in my house. There's no air conditioning in my room. So anyway, woe is me. Yeah. But on to my train of thought here. And depending on how much ground we cover, might have to make more than one video here. So it's true. When I was a little boy, I loved film music. I loved John Williams. I love that stuff. Of course, I listened to mostly music that my parents liked, music that was on TV. It wasn't like my parents had just a gigantic library of records and things. This was the record era, my parents, and it wasn't like they didn't have a gigantic, huge amount of records. And what they had, we listened to here and there, and so I listened to, a little bit of John Denver, a little bit of Anne Murray, a little bit of Neil Diamond, a little bit of, I don't know, some of the 70s things, Carpenters, of course, and my dad liked a little bit of Billy Joel sometimes, or Beach Boys, and this is 70s group. One of the singers, some of the singers were LDS. Not just the Letterman, but there's another group it's called Sunshine, Rain, and something or other that they had a record of. And there's one of the guys that I am subscribed to. He likes some of the older, hard to find records and things. Anyway, I'll mention more about that in a bit if you guys are curious. But just check out Alan Marcus. Anyway, so so that was my background, and I had piano lessons starting at 8 years old, and piano was fine. I was just very sensitive to everything, and when I was little, and everything didn't matter, what it was. I noticed everything. I had very kind piano teachers, very sweet piano teachers. No, don't get me wrong, it was great. I loved piano lessons. I loved my piano teachers when I was younger. Judy Sullivan, She was great. She was my grandma's next door neighbor and really good friend. Also LDS, and gosh, I miss her a lot. And my first piano teacher, she was a little bit older when she taught my brother and I piano lessons, and we used the Bastion piano series, and so of course I still use that piano method for some of my own piano students. And sure, there are times when I remember, for me it's well, there's a lot of nostalgia there, but some songs more than others perhaps. And anyway, that wasn't necessarily what I want to talk about so much, but sometimes it's true. It's like that Lincoln car commercial. Sometimes, in order to get to where you're going, you need to know where you've been. I'm not going slow enough, and I'm not Matthew McConaughey thing. But no, it's true. Sometimes, if you want to know where you're going, it's important to know where you've been. And all that stuff. All right. So I had on piano some very kind instructors. The last instructor I had was really, really good, more professional level. All of my, the majority of my French horn teachers were tougher on me, I think. Not as sweet and stuff, but I had that all out when I was older anyway, French horn. So my primary instrument, horn. So, okay. So, as you get older, you hear all these different kinds of music, and you make decisions to yourself. I like this. I like that. I like this. And I ask myself the question on occasion, why do I like this? I mean, it's always something in the back of your mind. Maybe you want to know what it is about this kind of music that I like so much. Those kinds of questions sometimes, I think, in some level, triggered my interest in composition. I wanted to write music that had certain emotions, many different emotions, a variety of them, and not just emotions, but things that you could picture, more beautiful kinds of things, but varied, all kinds of things. I mean, just the sky's the limit, But with my sometimes I get on YouTube and I just want to listen to new stuff. And just for some time now, I have found that it's really a lot of what the new stuff I've been listening to is not really classical music. It's kind of more easy listening, or a lot of Italian stuff, a lot of Italian film and easy listening and kind of elevator music, relaxing stuff, and bossa nova and stuff. Not just Italian, there's other stuff, but I mean, Italy's been kind of a big thing that way recently. I found it's a bit eye-opening, anyway. A lot of British stuff too, of course, and other countries, but yeah, I wanted to write, and I wanted to keep hearing music that explored other ideas. So, okay, I'm gonna kind of go backwards a little bit, and then go forwards again. So I studied piano formally until I was 18, and I studied French horn starting at 14, all the way up to basically present, with some gaps. But I'm not really taking horn lessons right now. I mean, super recently. And there have been gaps in there, somewhat. But I I've taken composition lessons, but many composers that teach, at least especially in colleges, don't do what I want to do. Well, they haven't done as much of what I want to do. And academia is not really truly my main thing in terms of composition. Music theory, sure, but composition is a different kind of thing. Anyway, you know, I feel like I haven't always, I'm going to try to save that subject for later. Sorry, folks. A few different directions to go here. So, you know, this is a question of what you've been exposed to in your music lessons. This is a question of what you've listened to when you're younger. All kinds of things, really. And there's a question of what do you still want to listen to based on what you've heard before, what you played. It's not always. It's really easy for a lot of musicians to not explore on their own, and when you explore music, but you do so because it's an assignment, it's expected that you go listen to some music in music library in college to better learn an excerpt, right, that you're learning. You might play in a professional audition, kind of thing, or something along those lines. It's a little bit more of drudgery. Right? It kind of interferes somewhat with your desire, I think, to learn. But music should always be enjoyable, and when it becomes the more it becomes a drudgery, it's sad. And so, it's like a lot of things in life for me, but it really is kind of I know I've always known that there are some things, some pieces, and a lot of music that still needs to be written in the future. A lot of music that it's better than what we have, or it's more emotional, or more expressive, or it's more spiritual, or it's whatever, and more varied, gets at certain ideas and emotions that we felt, but maybe we haven't really heard via music as much, or it needs to be written. And so much of what I have studied formally in music lessons and in college hasn't really gone there too much. Here and there, sure. And it's hard for a lot of musicians that are more sensitive and emotional people that prefer to write music that is more that way. It's hard for us to deal with that. What we have to do is we just have to say, okay, that's what we got to do, and just do it. It is a drudgery, especially when we'd rather be doing other things, listening to other kinds of music, writing other kinds of music, and other things, right? So, a lot of very sensitive emotional music, and I've considered, this is what I want to mention in this video in particular. I'm going to try making videos somehow using my phone such that you can hear harmonies more formally, or actually more literally. So I'm actually going to on my piano, play certain things. And it might be a little bit of music theory education, depending on what I cover. I might have to organize my thoughts a little bit here. But I want to get at this emotional thing that it's so important, in my opinion, when you're writing music. It's so important. The more that music means something, not just something, and the more that music has meaning to someone, and you feel different emotions and you picture different things, that is of immeasurable value. And it's just one of the most frustrating things in the world to deal with academia and deal with ideas where philosophies where they try to just, academia discourages these kinds of things. This is why a lot of musicians don't finish college, their bachelor's degree or whatever else, maybe grad degrees. But these, this is why a lot of people drop out of college, study music. They want to become, and then they might have success, might not. Who knows? But it's like professors aren't necessarily always your friends that way. They will, if you work hard. You will grow as a musician. That's pretty much guaranteed if you get into a decent school of music or department of music. It's going to happen. If you work your hardest, you will definitely become a lot better musician. Doesn't matter if you go to Juilliard, you go to New England, or you go to a state college, or you go even a community college. Sometimes it's just you will grow because there's so many highly skilled professors out there of music. But we want to grow, we want to get better, we want to become more skilled, certainly. But it's hard to maintain. Again, the reasons for wanting to go into music are often not how good you are at music naturally. Of course, if I was less skilled in music, I might have gone in a different direction because it is so competitive. But it's a passion, it's a desire. Which it should be with music. It should be that way. But it's hard to maintain that a sense of what you really like and most in music when there's so many forces that in life that are causing you to go this way or that way or this way or that way. Love this, love that. Listen to this, listen to that. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? And I care about this very deeply. I really do. I think people should have a much easier time finding music that they really would gravitate toward more strongly, or that would help them. You see, some music actually can help you become. Well, let's see. Can actually help you become a better person, even like more righteous. If you really internalize it and you mull it over after a bit, it can actually refine you as a person. Some music can help you mature and help you think about things and troubles in a different way, it's very soothing. It's very great. It's a balm, I suppose you say, emotional balm, right? Some music and it can help you picture things that are pleasant to think about, or varied, or visually, or different personalities, different people you've known or would like to meet. And then of course there's always romantic music, that sort of thing. The thing about Italian music, for instance, is that there's so much romantic music but it's very yeah. There's a lot of music that's written from Italian composers that really kind of tugs at your heartstrings and reminds you of feelings you had about someone that, yes, very, very amorous, romantic kind of thoughts and feelings, and maybe, there's other things as well, but it's very prominent in Italy. That's just a big thing. You can talk about opera all you want to, but I'm not an opera person. I'm sorry. I think film music from Italy is just amazing, but so much of it we don't know about in the United States because a lot of it was written back in the 60s and 70s. And Italian cinema is, like many other countries, the United States and Britain are probably focal points for theater well, let's say film. I mean, a lot of the best movies have come from those countries. Certainly other countries as well, but Italy's competing with Britain and the United States, and so sometimes we just, I hate to say it, but we, well, anyway, the United States is kind of everybody comes to the United States, you know. We have all nationalities, or most of them. Anyway. So, but yeah, I'm going to put out some videos in the future that have to do with some basic harmonic progressions. Actually, I wouldn't say basic. I'm just going to skip. I might make two different kinds of things in that regard. I might make kind of a music theory instruction type of thing, and then I will just do like something separate from that is just getting deeper into moods and expressing emotions and moods in music via chord progressions and harmonies and things and different kinds of melodies, and we'll call melodic contour and voicing and all these terms. You'll come to understand what they are and all these different kinds of harmonies. And you'll see how the different harmonies are used for motion. For mood, you'll come to understand all of the other elements of music, how they contribute to mood as well. So it'll be kind of like a composition, online composition instruction. So that, you know, I mean, I think you should always be taking private lessons no matter what. But it might be something that can help you guys with, if you want to write music. Where do I start? You know, how do I do it? I want so badly to have these songs in my head, these tunes in my head. Where do I start? So I might start doing that, but again, it's just a matter of getting my phone set up. And I might be kind of a little bit awkward at first, but you know, there's all these things that I'm finding I need to get, you know, that are expensive, and I have to wait until I have enough money, or have to, you know, yeah, but you know, I for now, the time being I don't know when things are going to change, but for now, I'm looking at my computer and my phone for using camera for YouTube. And I can get my phone, I think I can at least have you hear things. Maybe I can try showing you something if I can get something hooked up for my phone so that I don't have to hold it. But if you guys have any ideas, just be sure, you know, definitely let me know in this regard. So I'm gonna make this a bit longer here, but I realize that it's getting a bit long now, I know. And thanks for sticking with me here so far in this regard. But you know, I understand many, well, specifically in this video, since I'm talking about music, which is my first love and which is my career, mainly, you know, all kinds of things in music, but I absolutely understand when someone says, I'm so sick and tired of this or that in school or college, or, you know, why can't I do this or that? Well, a lot of people say, you know, you should just do what you're told, right? Do what your teachers want you to do. It's good for you. Eat your broccoli. Okay, you know, participate in band. It can be boring. It can be frustrating. I guess the thing is, when I was in high school and I came home from high school, I mean, there were times when I was in band, orchestra, when I really enjoyed it. And it wasn't all the time, but it was sometimes at least. And I definitely preferred playing with more skilled musicians. And I remember getting to the point in college when I was able to play very well in tune. And how I preferred, at that point, playing with people that played well in tune. And, you know, just the more that you grow as a musician, the more you have an ear for different things, you just come to love music more and more, and come to understand it better, and you can write it. You can write more of what you want to write. And again, a lot of teachers don't teach tonal music. They teach music that's much more nonsensical, or from the perspective of music making more sense if it has melody and has clear harmonies and has, etc. That kind of stuff. Heading back now a little bit, walking around where I live a little bit. A lot of mosquito. I should mention a few things just in passing here. Yeah, there's some spider webs I've walked into. Managed to avoid the mosquitoes, I think. I don't know if you can see this, but there's a little, again, green space here. Kind of fenced off, but it's kind of dark out here. I don't know if you can see much of anything. Anyway, so I'm getting some creative ideas a little bit. I just need to keep fueling my imagination. I think I'm feeling probably a little bit depressed. Not just because of the heat, not just because I'm a little bit not as busy in some respects. Well, yes and no, but yeah. It's just the it's just important to keep fueling your imagination, keep doing things socially, all that stuff. There's a lot of things that are kind of fuel for the soul that we need to just try doing more and more of. So, yeah, I mean, sometimes when you want to sit down and listen to music, and it's a little different with movies. With movies, I often find that I want to go into, mostly, really, tell you the truth, it's more fantasy adventure, but it's something with a really good story, at least. It has to have a good story, even if it's something else like sci-fi or whatever. But and sometimes I want to go into something that's ghost story-ish, scary, but it's often not something else. I mean, occasionally it's comedy, but I tend to not really want to watch anything romantic because it's emotional. It could go one of a few different directions. It could be like oh, that's so cute type of thing, or it makes you sob. And you say, oh, that's amazing, but then, who wants to really, it's like, you could have the best life imaginable, and certain movies are so well done in that respect, they're romances, you could have some very poignant feelings that hopefully are still loyal to the person that you're with, but I don't know, mixed feelings about romances that are movies, basically. But with music, I sometimes feel like it's a lot more maybe healthy, it's a little healthier to express emotions, or to feel emotions when you're listening to music. And somebody's practicing it late night. It's amazing. I'm not saying that kid's Asian, but okay, I said it, you heard it. It's a good chance he might be Asian. It's that piano music again. I don't know if you could hear it. Somebody is a very diligent practicer. Sounds nice. Got to meet whoever that is these days. Anyway, of course, I make it a rule not to, quote unquote, steal other teachers' students. This person sounds fairly advanced. It's not just playing, he's playing with something more expressive, not necessarily something faster and everything, but it sounded very nice. Anyway, by the way, if I went to Germany, for instance, yes, trust me, I would want to go way out in the Black Forest in central Germany, all the forest areas at night, walk around and meet some witches. Just kidding. Something about Europe, in particular, I guess, with the Grimm's fairy tale area in Germany, that can scare the living daylights out of you if you're in a certain frame of mind. Oh, yes, this area, this road, has a little bit of a quality, I suppose. It's a bit like that area of Germany that I'm thinking of, with certain types of designs, fence designs, and trees and things. Types of house. I know the type of house I'm thinking of as well. Yes, a certain style of not only fences but wood houses and painted wood, all the designs and stuff that you might get into with wood. That's very Germany, I think. Along with the, timber frame, or the, what is it called? I don't know. There's other types of architecture, of course, in Germany. But so, yes, I'm sorry, folks. Getting back to what I'm talking about earlier. Oh, it's dark. It's scary. No, I mean, it's really important, I think, to try to find music that helps you feel what it is that you are looking for, what you want to feel in life. Sometimes it can be one particular piece that just hits you really hard, and you don't know why that is, but music can be transforming that way. And it's always a question of, you can approach it academically or analytically, but there's always a question of why does it have that impact on us? But we don't want to know. We do, but we don't. We don't want to take the mystery away from the enjoyment of the emotions that we feel with certain kinds of music that we just love the most. And we want to, if we understand it, we say to ourselves, well, then it's not as mysterious, it's not quite as magical or whatever. It doesn't have quite the same allure that it once had, because we understand it better. Well, I'm actually more of the opinion that what we need to do to keep from thinking that way is we need to stop thinking of music in a academic way, in a sense, because you can make music look like math, and it has its purpose, but that way of thinking does kind of interfere a bit with the emotional element, right? Which is why I want to play music for you guys rather than just try to explain it. It's a different kind of thing. Unless you understand music theory and theory terms and that sort of thing, I have to play stuff for you guys. But yeah, I mean, I know we search for this stuff. There's all kinds of people, different kinds of people. Frank Zappa, the 70s guy. Well, it's weird. My parents didn't listen to Frank Zappa, of course. So the only way I knew about him was via studying music composition a little bit at Central Washington University. And Frank was very interested in very dissonant, aggressive, or I should say angry kinds of sounding music, or something else, but some very dark emotions, and for his own reasons. And he hated censorship, and he is also a rock guy, or rock avant-garde classical fusion guy. But here's the thing, Frank was he said, I don't care at all about the techniques that were used to get some of this really crazy sounding music that is avant-garde classical music. He didn't care about the techniques at all. All he cared about was the harmony. The fact that some of these harmonies were so dissonant, they were so angry sounding. So that's what he was after. The sounds, the effects, the emotional impact because there are a lot of things that really ticked him off about when he was alive, and he wanted to express those things in music. So some people want to write very angry music. That's okay, as long as well. Anyway, I've mentioned some of the stuff I think in the past, but it's good to be aware of the morality and spiritual side of music and everything. But pretty sure Frank was just, yeah, I understand him pretty well, I think. But anyway, but you have people like Frank, and you have people like, let's say John Barry. And John, like Burt Bacharach, for instance, preferred, I think, more pleasant music, pleasing, emotional music. So more kindred spirits to myself. I would, if I was talking to Burt Bacharach, John Barry, these kinds of folks, absolutely, that would be great. I might think to myself that they write more like myself in a way, or they're more like me than they're more like me than Frank Zappa. But Frank Zappa's anger makes sense to me in a way because, again, he lived during the Vietnam War era, and Zappa was a bit liberal leaning, but the Vietnam War was very unpopular, of course, and anyway, and all that kind of thing. But then you also have folks that just love the weird, not necessarily really super dissonant or angry sounding music, aggressive music, but music that just sounds like some kind of mind trip, psychedelic stuff, or just, Debussy kind of takes you down that lane a little bit with his rubato tempos and some of his whole tone harmonies, which I'll get into soon. I'll show you guys how that all works. Debussy's kind of like, let me put it this way, Claude Debussy, I kill Claude Debussy. Listen to his music if you're not as familiar with him. By all means, Debussy is like the first step, I should say, down the rabbit hole into truly what was I imagining kinds of music, right? So pleasant, surreal, or dreamlike, well, somewhat pleasant. Well, let's just say very varied. But when you wake up from your dream, or when you are done with whatever time you've been listening to interesting music, we'll say weird music, you'd be like, this stuff was really cool. This stuff was kind of weird. I'm not really sure how I felt about it, but I felt some emotions that I really hadn't really felt before. Yeah, but see, the thing about Debussy is that there's nothing that's too strong of an emotion. It's most of the moods in his music are very muted, right? So it makes it a bit safer, right? If you're drifting more to a deeper level of consciousness, right? Because at those deeper levels, by the way, we're more open to whatever it is that we're listening to or we're exposed to, right? So Debussy's pretty safe. Yeah. You can get crazier. You can get more into, and I should also mention this as well. There's a lot of music on YouTube. This is psychedelic or trance music or whatever. I've listened to some of it, and it kind of is more like Muzak, some of it. A lot of it's not very high quality. So, to be honest, I could tell you guys about the other composers that go further down the rabbit hole. Kind of a nice ordering of composers if you really want to go there. But the deeper down you go, I'm not saying, it's kind of like, you get to a point where, and this is a little bit nice, it's a little lighter, you can kind of see. Well, you get to a point with some music that I've heard where maybe, I'm not saying it's evil, it's not necessarily evil in the classical or the traditional way of thinking about evil, but you might want to maybe just pause the music for a bit, go do something else, and then come back to it. Because you might get just, we'll just say, some very trippy thoughts. Trippy or weird trains of thought, maybe. I don't know. With, who can understand why that is. But that's deeper down the rabbit hole. You're getting to the deeper areas of subconscious, maybe. Maybe, I am interested in the subject. I know a lot about it. I have a feeling that there's some people that might know more about this than me. And if anything, I could probably research it more. But I know about quite a variety of composers. So if you guys want me to go to address that more, I can do that. I just would advise everybody to just be aware that although I consider some music to be satanic and don't listen to it, and I'm not talking about that kind of stuff, right? Zappa is pretty angry, so I feel pretty comfortable drawing a line somewhere in that realm, and anything that gets even more aggressive than that, I think is a bit unhealthy, but that's just for me. I'm not going to make a judgment for anyone else. But that's kind of, I understand. All right. There are quotes by Zappa that will give you an idea of just how angry he wanted music to be sometimes. Not that way. Again, he's not very happy with a lot of things, but there's music that's very sorrowful or very sensitive to, very empathetic. There's music that's very joyful and very upbeat, right? If you want to go more that route, if you want to stick with that stuff, or it's very sacred, or it's always very uplifting, very suit and tie type stuff, or very academic, classical, refined, all that stuff. But these other moods, as I haven't mentioned, is funny stuff. Music can sound funny, or quirky, or lighthearted, or just lighter. Nothing. It's nice to listen to music that isn't necessarily really in depth sometimes. I guess there's something I was going to mention earlier. It's that when you listen to music, certain kinds of music, that we'll just say it's harmonically darker, but not necessarily extremely dissonant. If it's extremely dissonant, that might take you out of a deeper state of consciousness. If you listen to music and you're almost asleep, or you're kind of light sleep, some music will take you out of that, and you'll wake up immediately because it'll be so dissonant that you're like, oh, what's this? But there's some music that is still somewhat dissonant. That is, you kind of descend into darker or more, we'll just say the unknown, right? The unknown in music harmonically, or the unknown even in terms of our own souls. It's possible to listen to music and get into these deep areas if you're in a deep state of consciousness. And you be very careful about what sorts of music you're listening to if that happens, because, and again, it's about the unknown. We don't know. There's some things we just don't know, and we don't know why we feel not extremely repulsed by some music, or why we feel, let's just say, it's like the idea of trees turning into monsters, right? That's a pretty dark thought, right? But they're monsters that don't want to kill you. They're monsters that kind of try to hide a happier world from you. So they'll try to keep you lost, keep you wandering in a forest kind of thing. And then they'll eat you, right? But they want to see you kind of die or wind down and die. It's that variety of, we'll just say, evil or darkness. Right? There's so many different kinds. But it's also just kind of aside from good and evil, there's just the unknown. There's the what. There's the question mark. There's the question mark in existence. in music. And, you know, sometimes there's I'm not sure how I feel. It's a different kind of feeling. I haven't felt it before. I'm more comfortable, I'm less comfortable with this because it's just music, right? So there's often no words. But yet, this music has a calming influence on me. It's often quieter, right? And by the way, I do know some things about what makes music more demonic in terms of the non-lyrical aspects of it. It has something to do with repetition, sometimes, and it has something to do with harmony, certainly. But, you can get into, I prefer, music to, if it ever goes get a little darker, I prefer music not to stay there too long. I prefer music to go somewhere else at some point. And that's kind of what I'm also saying as well. Christopher Young, for instance, who's a film composer, is very well known for his music he's written for scary movies. And he, I think, understands what I'm saying. And if you listen to the music from Sinister, particularly the scene where that girl who's, we'll just say, kind of possessed, is pulling all of her family members into the pool and they're drowning. If you see that scene and you listen to the music, that is seriously some of the most goosebump-inducing